Hey, beautiful souls. It's your show host, Regina Huber from Transform Your Performance with the same website, transformyourperformance.com. And this week, I'm welcoming you from Miami, Florida, United States. As you may know by now, I'm a passionate nomad with a business based in New York City, and I'm always up for traveling. That's why you will see me in different locations with different varying backgrounds, and I'm sometimes need to improvise a little bit depending on where I am. I'm all about movement, diversity, and change, and I'm often on the move. My eclectic life and experience on 5 continents has shaped me into a multicultural and multilingual transformational leadership coach and inspirational speaker. And because I have seen such amazing, sparkling brilliance in women all over the world, I have made it my mission for this show and for all its episodes to inspire you to ignite a fire wherever your path leads you, to move up your light dimmer switch and shine your brightest light so you can increase your income, your influence, and your impact, which then leads to a more fulfilled life. This show is titled, What's Your Spark? And it's about how you can show up more powerfully in business and in leadership and sparkle your leader brilliance out to the world. Beam like a dazzling star with your presence and with your brilliance. Shine with such a bright light and such a bright spark that people have to put on their sunglasses when they look at you. On my show, leadership always means leadership in any capacity. Leadership in business, in your family, in an organization, community, in your own business, maybe. Yes, it doesn't matter what your situation is. Leadership is an attitude and it's a behavior rather than a position. And it always starts with self-leadership and self-empowerment. Self-empowerment that eventually leads to freedom and greater fulfillment. And you should know that all I do is in the service of freedom, always. And it's about the freedom to speak up, stand out, and shine, as my book title says. And you can find that book on Amazon. So if you are watching, I suppose that's what you want too, right? Speak up, stand out, and shine. Last week, I fell and I broke my right wrist, and I actually was pulled down by a big, strong dog who was taken by her instinct to chase a cat. You know, she is such a lovely, sweet dog, but of course, we cannot forget that pets are still animals and they have instincts. And this is why you're seeing me here with my sling. I know it doesn't look so photogenic, but you know, we do what we can. And I'm probably going to stay, you know, this sling is probably going to stay with me for a while. So please bear with me. Anyway, today our show is going to be about Heartset. And the title of the show is Heartset, Mindset's Significant Other. It's an integral part of my signature framework, Powerful Leadership Transformation. This is my coaching framework. And it's just as integral a part of this as mindset. And so I'm now asking you, are you ready to hear about Heartset? If so, grab your journal and pen and let's get started. We talk so much about mindset, and it's very important indeed for success in all areas of our lives and in any profession or business. But if you don't pay attention to your heart, you are missing out on 50% of your intelligence, or rather, your very unique wisdom. Our heart isn't just an organ, and it's not just a pump that keeps us alive and that keeps the blood flowing through our veins. As all organs, the heart has its very own consciousness. I studied a lot of holistic healing at some point in my life, and I still use this language. And through those studies, I learned about body consciousness, about energy consciousness, and all of that. And body consciousness is also part of my framework, Powerful Leadership Transformation, in the form of body and energy conscious presence. We'll touch on that in future episodes in the context of business presence and speaking presence and all of that. It's all connected to what I'm teaching you today as well. But for now, let's focus on the heart and Heartset. The heart has 40,000 brain-like cells. That's why we also say our heart brain is a part of the overall brain. Yes, like all other organs, our heart communicates with our cranial brain at all times. But we could say that our heart brain and our cranial brain have a special connection. They communicate in at least 4 ways: neurologically, biochemically, biophysically, and energetically. So I'm going to say that again: neurologically, biochemically, biophysically, and energetically. What I also find interesting is that the heart's electromagnetic frequency flows out from the heart and back into it in the form of a torus field. And science have found that the heart's electrical field is about 100 times as strong as the cranial brain's electrical field. And the magnetic field of the heart can even be up to 5,000 times stronger. 5,000 times. Yeah. This means our connection with the world around us, to a very large extent, happens through our hearts. We could say our heart is a magnet because of this very strong magnetic frequency it sends out. And that's also why it has a huge role in creating the reality we want, in manifesting what we want and drawing it toward us. The heart also has a big role in decisions and in decision making. That's why we talk about heart-based decisions. These are decisions that come about as a result of tapping into our intuition, into the wisdom of the heart, rather than decisions based on rational reasons or logic or so-called facts. Who determines what facts are anyway? So as I mentioned before, even if we do deep mindset work, if we don't also go into Heartset, we miss out on at least 50% of our intelligence, or I should say wisdom. Yeah, because our heart holds a very special intelligence that is unique to every single one of us. From my own experience, I have lots of reason to believe that the best decisions are made with and from our hearts, especially when it comes to the tough ones, the life-changing ones. Yeah, the ones that are not, that we cannot make purely based on logic. Yes. So why is that? Because it's in our heart where we find our intuitive powers. So we must relearn to connect with our hearts to access this intuition. I have found that my best decisions have been decisions I made when tapping into my intuition. Yeah. Of course, we also say our intuition is in the third eye. Yeah, that's certainly true, but a lot of it we find in our hearts. And so when I tap into the wisdom of my heart, rather than really only on rational reasons, that's when I personally have made the best decisions. Pro and con sheets, for example, have never worked for me, because so-called facts are often not real facts anyway. And if anything, I would make a pro and pro list, you know, the pros of this and the pros of that, and then I can compare a little bit better. We must not confuse our mind with facts. That's really important to remember. A lot of what is in our minds is made up stuff anyways, beliefs, all of that. Yes. And I certainly don't want to dismiss due diligence as an important decision-making factor. I also didn't do that once in the past, and it wasn't a great experience. So I definitely like due diligence. And but you know, it's also important not to just look at those so-called facts and really feel into our heart. So what does a decision or an option feel like? Because when you combine due diligence with heart intelligence, that's when the magic happens. Yeah, that's when the decision-making magic happens. So once you've done your due diligence, it's a lot about what does this option, a certain option, feel like versus another option. That feeling is the most precious clue on whether this particular option is right for you. You know, it could be not right for somebody else, but it can be right for you, and vice versa. And it's not about anyone else but you. Yes. So often we ask others, what should we do about this or that? You know, what decision should we take? What option is best? What do you think? But it's nobody's business but ours. Yeah. So we must learn to listen to our intuition and listen to our heart. Our heart helps us take courageous steps and move out of fear. Why? Because fear is in the mind while courage is in the heart. Our heart allows us to trust ourselves more and take risks despite the fear we might feel. Our heart is where we find courage. In fact, the words heart and courage have the same root in so many languages. Like, for example, Portuguese, coração, heart, coragem, courage, yes, or in French, cœur, courage, in Italian, cuore, coraggio, in Spanish, corazón, coraje. In Mexican Spanish, coraje also means anger, but you know, coraje does mean courage also in Spanish. Even in German, my native language, the old word for heart, for mutig, which means courageous. So the old word for mutig, which is a modern word, was actually beherzt. And beherzt comes from Herz. And a Herz means heart, of course. And beherzt translates to heart-filled. Isn't that interesting? I find languages so freaking amazing. So our heart helps us take courageous steps and move out of fear or take risks despite our fear. Why? Because as I said before, fear is in the mind and courage is in the heart. Our heart also has creative power. Yeah, it picks up inspiration from the field. Remember, we said it's like a magnet, and it hands this inspiration over to us. It's very generous, yeah, but we have to be willing to listen. So we must learn to tune into our hearts and listen, and be open to hearing what it has to share with us. And then follow our heart's advice, because it knows best what's best for us. What does all of this mean? Our heart's intelligence or wisdom is complementary to our cranial brain's intelligence, what we commonly call IQ, what we commonly call IQ. We could call our heart intelligence HIQ, but it doesn't really matter what we call it. It's just important that ideally they should be playing together. That's all that matters. Now, let's do a simple, quick exercise together to find and embody your heart power. Are you up for that? So if you're up for it, close your eyes if that feels safe to you. And if not, just find a gazing spot somewhere in front of you or on the ceiling. Sit upright, open your chest, maybe place one or both hands on your heart. I can only place one today, as you know. And now breathe into your heart. Deep breaths into your heart. Inhale through your heart. And exhale through your heart. And again, inhale through your heart. And exhale through your heart. Breathing in love. Breathing out love. Breathing in intuition. Breathing out wisdom that we are sharing with the world. And observe your growing inner connection to your heart and your heart center. Feel your heart energy inside of you. Imagine your heart opening up for you. Imagine your heart space growing, literally expanding. You may notice that you're focused inside now rather than outside, right? So with your inner eye, look at your heart. And with your inner eye, really observe your heart. With your inner ears, start listening to your heart. At first, focus on the heartbeat. Can you feel it with your hands? Can you hear it maybe? Can you maybe even visualize your heartbeat? What would that look like? Is your heart telling you something already? Can you receive a message that's maybe related to your purpose or to an important decision? Does your heart have a message for you right now, right here? If it did have a message, could you listen? Would you listen? Are you willing to listen? So take a moment and listen what your heart has to share with you at this time, right now. Just relax, breathe, connect, and listen. What if you could actually get a message right now? It could come in the form of a word or several words or a sentence or several sentences, a feeling, an image. And I'll keep quiet just for a bit for now, so you can do exactly that. Listen deeply, feel deeply, look through the eyes of your heart. Maybe you need an answer to an important question. Maybe in the process of making a decision and you don't know yet what to decide. Could you receive an answer now? A hint, a clue. Trust your intuition. Listen. And if you didn't hear the message right away, that's okay. It takes practice to trust our inner voice and to listen really deeply. You can repeat this anytime and as often as you want, and open, and spend a little bit more time with it and open your heart more deeply. Yeah. But now open your eyes. And if you did receive a message, write it down in your journal. Now, I'd be really curious how many of you have received a message, maybe a great answer to a question or an awesome idea that you want to implement, or an inspiration related to your purpose. I'm really, really curious right now. Now, we must remember that our heart energy isn't only inside of us. It's not somehow stuck there inside of us. We are sharing our heart energy with the world around us, and we're connecting through it, through the electric field and the magnetic field of our hearts. Yeah, whether we notice this or not, it's happening all the time. So take time out of your day to connect with your heart on a regular basis. This will strengthen your trust in your intuition, and it will also change how you show up and how others perceive you. Now, I'm very heart-driven. I often followed my heart even when it didn't make any logical sense, or at least not to anyone around me. Following our hearts is really something that we want to relearn if we have unlearned it, and remember as humans. because we're so educated into functioning in our minds for the most part, and in a very programmed way. Yes, we are supposed to be rational. We learn that at school, right? To not daydream and all these things. So we're supposed to be rational and analytical in our jobs and in our business and whatnot to fit into the system somehow. And that's how we sometimes get to neglect our passions and our purpose, what we're really here for, and what we really, really want deep down. We forget about our own needs, which are often related to our calling, our purpose. We allow ourselves to be pressed into a box, and we were never meant to be in a box. Yeah, but we're also educated out of our heart connection, out of our heart power, our intuitive skills, our self-love. We no longer allow our hearts to guide us. So we may still feel this urge even, but we don't quite know what to do with it, how to use it, and how to make it work for us. So we ignore it or dismiss it. But it's so precious. Yeah. Last but certainly not least, our heart is our source of love, self-love, and compassion. We could sure do with more compassionate and courageous leaders in the world, don't you think? More heart-centered leaders. Well, hopefully we're going in that direction as humanity. I really have hope. And I really believe that it's happening, even if it doesn't always look like that, and especially not now. But it's really also worth spending a moment to think about the difference between compassion and empathy, the difference between compassionate leaders and empathetic leaders. You know, because empathy alone is just a skill. It's not necessarily doing good. So maybe you want to check out my YouTube videos. On my YouTube channel, I shared some videos that talk about the difference between compassion and empathy. And you know, I'm an empath, right? So I'm over empathic. So I also had to transform my empathy into compassion so that I wouldn't constantly suffer with others. Yeah, because when we're oversensitive, that can also hurt us sometimes. We need to transform it in a way that it becomes useful, and especially as coaches. Yeah. And I will do another full episode on the topic of courageous leadership in the future, because it's just so important. Because as I said before, courageous leaders are heart-driven leaders. When they're not, you know, I'm not talking about callous leaders, about authoritative leaders. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about heart-driven, courageous leaders who stand up for what's right, who stand up for ethnic integrity. Yeah, and that's why I wrote an article for the corporate magazine a few months ago titled, it's actually almost a year ago now, titled Courageous Leadership, Leading from the Heart and Ethical Integrity and Without a Need for Validation. And you can find that on my website most easily, because it's a very long link. So you can find it on my website on the bio/press page. So my website again is transformyourperformance.com, transformyourperformance.com / and then actually you just go on the transformyourperformance.com, sorry, and then you just click on the tab that says bio/press. That's the easiest way. Yeah. And in summary, to sum it all up today, I want to say that the heart is the most powerful driving force in our lives, but it's also very easily broken at the same time. That's why it's so important to understand Heartset. And if you'd like to learn more about it, I invite you to check out my YouTube playlist, Harness Your Heart's Intelligence in Business. And we can have a look at my YouTube playlist for a moment together. I'm going to share that with you for a moment here. With one hand, everything is a bit more slowly, so I apologize. it up again for a moment. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is my YouTube channel. And as you can see, there are many different playlists. These are all free resources that I have created for you here. So check them out and use them. There are many more videos than you can see here now in each of these playlists anyway. So you just scroll to the right and see more videos. So we have for example, career advancement for impact-driven women, 7 behaviors of successful career women. I also wrote an article about that on medium.com. And then we have upgrade your life and career. We have here harness your heart's intelligence in business. This is the playlist I was referring to. And then there's some other playlists. I also have a LinkedIn Live that is called What's Your Sport? Just like this show. It's where I interview other ladies. And then another new one that I just started, Harness Your Power and Life Force Energy, because I definitely want to bring in more energy related content very soon again too. Okay, so this is my YouTube channel. I invite you to check it out, to watch the videos, use the free resources, like the videos that you appreciate, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so that you also get alerts and about new videos. I'm definitely going to record some soon, possibly even still today. And I would love to quickly also share my contact information with you, as I always like to do. As I mentioned before, my website is transformyourperformance.com, and I have a connection website especially for you as well, which is followregina.com, where you can connect with me through my mailing list, get all the updates on a regular basis. So you're also reminded about these shows every week. Just click on those blue buttons, scroll down and click on those buttons to get free stuff. And my YouTube channel I mentioned already. And okay, that's what happens when you only have one hand available. Here you go. And then I also am offering a very special session because I recently did a vision session, and I wanted to just keep this offer up here for all my viewers on this channel, which is very special to you only. And it's on my website /vision, if you'd like to check that out. Of course, I always want to remind you of my book, because it has helped so many women and other, also many men, but mostly women, to speak up, stand out and shine and show up powerfully in business, in public speaking, and in any challenging business and life situations. Really gives you all the tools you need to quickly amp up and change your presence for the better. Not that you don't have lovely presence, you do, but it's always great to enhance it a bit more, be seen and heard more easily, and also draw the attention to you when you have something important to share, right? Okay, this brings us to the end of this episode. I do hope to see you next week, and I will be thrilled to see you again, same time, same place, when I will be talking about self-awareness and how it feeds into self-leadership and into leading others. In the meantime, keep shining, sparkle away like a precious pearl, because always remember, the world is your oyster.